Welcome back to Season 11 of the Neuroscience Meets Social and Emotional Learning podcast, where we connect the science-based evidence behind social and emotional learning and emotional intelligence training for improved well-being, achievement, productivity, and results, using what I saw as the missing link, since we weren't taught this when we were growing up in school, the application of practical neuroscience. I'm Andrea Samadi, an author and an educator with a passion for learning, and launched this podcast 5 years ago with the goal of bringing all the leading experts together in one place to help us to apply this research in our daily lives. On today's episode, number 334, we meet with someone who caught my eye over 20 years ago when I worked with athletes at Arizona State University. Sitting in front of Ike Diogu years before his exciting career would unfold, I just knew he was going to be successful. I was in my late 20s and I hadn't published my first book yet, The Secret for Teens Revealed, that was written with the purpose to help our next generation sharpen the skills that were integral for achieving goals in school and sports. It was designed to develop certain ways of behaving and, more importantly, thinking that would enable young people to achieve whatever it is that they want in life. Working with college athletes at ASU, I thought would be a great place to test out the chapters of this book. Chapter 1 was about developing a winning attitude. Chapter 2, developing your mind. Chapter 4, goal setting and persistence. And Chapter 5, all about building your confidence formula for predictable results for success. So you get the point here. So one day I'm sitting with Ike and I asked him a series of questions to kind of feel out where his mental mindset was. And I'm not kidding, he almost knocked me out of my chair. Whatever I asked Ike, he had a well thought out answer that told me for certain that he didn't need the book I wanted to publish. He'd already learned these skills at a young age and was implementing them. And I knew these skills would help skyrocket his future success. I just remember sitting there, I put my book down and I thought, where will Ike Diogu end up? And while I didn't follow his career over the years, I did see his photo on the wall one day when I was going down to the baggage claim at Arizona's Sky Harbor Airport. And it was then that I thought back to the moment I knew this young man had everything he needed for an exciting and successful life. Of course, I was going to look for him and see if he would be open to coming on the podcast. We've learned about the daily grind in the NHL on episode 38, accelerating leadership in the NFL on episode 166, but I knew I've always been missing the mindset of the athlete. I'm honored and so excited to connect back with Ike Diogu, who I've not seen face to face for over 20 years, and dive into the mindset of a Division I college athlete turned pro. Let's meet Ike Diogu. So welcome, Ike. I want to thank you so much for meeting with me here today and filling me and our listeners into what you've been up to the past 20 years. And I just asked you because I was curious. When I reached out to you, do you actually remember the time we spent together at ASU and in the stadium and the second floor there? Remember that?
I don't remember because it was such a long time ago, but I mean, I am happy that you reached back out. It's pretty cool for me. It's a nice, humbling experience.
Definitely. Well, so sometimes like when you're working with someone, you have no idea the impact that you're having on them. And so that's what happened to me at the time. It was probably one of the most difficult times in my life. And I got matched up to work with you and a few other athletes, but you were the one that I can tell your name 20 years later. I can remember sitting in front of you and going, this kid is going somewhere. And then, I got to watch it happen. So I'm just thrilled for this. So back then I had actually just come from Toronto. September 11th happened, and that was my first job working in the US at ASU Stadium. So just to orient you to, you just never know what's going on with other people. And then 20 years later, people reach out to you and go, wow, you really made an impact on me back then.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's definitely amazing. Like I said, a very humbling experience for me.
Definitely. Well, thanks for this. So before we get to where after I met you at ASU, can you just orient our listeners to your background before you went to college at ASU? So, where did you grow up? And I'm looking to figure out where your mindset came from, because this has been my work for the past 20 years. It's called social emotional learning, these skills like goal setting, attitude, confidence building that were not in schools until recently. And I was testing out my content on you when I was sitting in front of you and asking you these questions, and you were blowing me away with your answers. So I just wonder, maybe was it your dad with a doctorate degree in philosophy? Where do you think your strong mental mindset came from? Because you had it 20 years ago.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would probably say from my dad. My dad is a very deep thinker. As you alluded to, he has his doctorate degree in philosophy, so he's a big time reader, and just really somebody that was just always just full of knowledge. And growing up, especially being the youngest son, I used to always, that's one of my heroes is my dad. Well, along with both of my parents, but my dad, I would have to credit everything for him because he's just always, like I said, a deep thinker. He's slow to anger. He always processes things, and I've just learned a lot from him.
Amazing. And your brothers too, they had an influence on you growing up?
Yeah, my brother's big time. They were 6 years older than me, or they are 6 years older than me. So I always wanted to be like them, and I think they set the standard high for me because I got to see them play at the highest level in terms of high school and then college and uh, I still remember being in middle school, getting to go to like parents' weekend and at the University of Tennessee or at the University of Texas, and that's when I knew that I wanted to be a college athlete. Um, I mean, to me, it was nothing bigger than my brothers, and I got the chance to watch them from the time I came into this world. Um, and they were just, I don't know, they were my brothers, but they just seemed like action heroes to me because that's just the regard that I hold them in. Even still to this day, like when people ask me, I'm always gonna say, man, my brothers influenced me influenced me the most because I mean I got to see them. I got to see my brother win a national championship at Sun Devil Stadium, which was cool. I got to see all types of athletes. I remember I got to meet Peyton Manning growing up because I was my brother's quarterback. So yeah, my brothers when it comes to my career, man, like I can't say enough about them.
Yeah.
But also the person who gets lost in the fray is my sister because I feel like when my brothers went off to college, obviously I didn't get to see them that much, but my sister filled the void, and so I got to give a shout out to my sister Love.
Yeah. No, this is really cool, Ike, because these skills that I saw that you had, they have to be taught. they haven't been in schools. They are now, but go back 20 years ago, they weren't. And so I was blown away when I saw that you had these. So I'm going to credit your dad because you were raised with his mindset, and then your family, the strong family values. So, I think when I got to meet you, you had everything you needed mentally to get to where you were going. I saw it. And then, just that memorable impression that you had on me, like years later, I forgot I went on with life, and I'm going down the escalator at the Sky Harbor Airport, and I'm with my family. We'd been on a vacation. I look up and I'm like, there's Ike on the wall. Do you remember that? Was you at the airport?
Yeah, I briefly do remember there was a time when I was up there, so that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild. And I remember looking at my husband and I screamed out, I'm like, it's Ike, it's Ike. And my husband's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I knew he was going places. I just knew it. I was so passionate because over the years, I just have this sixth sense to look at people and I can just see the talent. And it was so obvious to me with you sitting there. I was like, but I didn't trust it back then, or I probably would have said something to you. I
Hmm.
was just like, I would feel it. And I'm like, he's going somewhere. But anyway, I got to watch that interview you did. It was pioneering the golden age of Nigerian basketball, and it was 3 years ago. And it kind of brought me up to speed to where you were because I didn't follow. I don't think I've ever watched any basketball game. So I saw you and I got to see where you went from there. And in that interview, you said something that really caught my attention. You said that throughout all the adversity that you had throughout your professional career, that you think mental toughness that your coach Evans instilled in you got you through some of those really tough times. And I remember that guy walking around the stadium. He had a huge presence. So, how did Coach Evans help strengthen your mental toughness that I saw was already strong back then? What did he do for you?
Well, to play, I mean, that was kind of like the DNA of the players that he recruited, is he wanted people that were mentally tough. So when you got to campus and you started doing your off-season training and your conditioning programs, I mean, he was going to really push you to the limits, and everything is designed in order to break you. So, um, if you can survive all of that, then that's gonna build you up for the game, for the tough games, for the tough conference games that we had in the Pac-10 at that time. And that's what Coach Evans was all about. He was an old school, no nonsense type of guy, and it was perfect for me because I was coming from a football background, growing up in Texas, so I was used to that mental toughness of having to practice in 100-degree temperatures. So when I came to Arizona, it was just really just a perfect fit with Coach Evans. He was just a real honorable man, and I'm thankful for my time that I got to have with him.
Love it, Ike. So then that interview that I watched really helped me just orient to where you went. And I got to credit all the pictures that I'm going to put in this interview in my show notes to that interview that you did. And I had no idea that where you went afterwards. So I just saw your picture at the airport, and then I don't know how I found you. I've just always wondered whatever happened to Ike. And so, anyway, I knew ASU was special for you, but what do you think made it so special enough that when you actually got drafted to the NBA, you were considering whether you should go or not? Like, what made it so special?
Well, the bond that you make with your teammates, you just become accustomed to campus life. And at that time, I was very comfortable being in Phoenix. I had my set group of friends and obviously my teammates, man, my teammates, because those are the guys that you train with, blood, sweat, and tears together. So once you put in that amount of work that we put in together, and I'm talking about summertime and all the hours where nobody else is seeing, you kind of get used to that. So going into my senior year, it was like, do I want to see the end of this chapter, or is it time to start a new chapter? And the big credit to my teammates is a lot of them were like, "Man, listen, we would love for you to come back for your senior year, absolutely, 100%." But they were like, "Man, but you got an opportunity of a lifetime, man. You never know what's gonna happen the next year, man. So you gotta go, man. Like you gotta go." So the decision was kind of tough, but they helped me to realize this is why we do all the grinding for, is to be able to get to this next level. So it was a tough decision, but it wasn't a tough decision, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it for sure. And definitely looking at your face and some of the pictures from your interviews where you're talking about your team members, you got this huge smile. I know it was special for you, and I remember how special it felt just being at the stadium in there. But so let's go to when you were actually drafted to the NBA. And you said yourself that you never would have imagined that you would have made that jump that you made. And I saw it. I was like, I have no idea where he's going, but he's going somewhere amazing. So just learning now to trust my intuition of these quantum leaps that we're all really capable of. So just tell me where your mindset was putting your name into the draft. And then I think you were playing open gym in Garland, Texas, and these kids were talking about, hey, didn't you put your name in? Just where was your mindset at that time when you put your name in and what happened?
Well, after my junior season, I had dominated the conference. I was player of the year. I was a All-American. I pretty much had all the awards. So I knew that I was one of the best in the country. And at that time, it was just a matter of seeing where the NBA personnel thought I was slated. So I know there was questions about my height. Is he tall enough? Is it going to translate? All this other stuff. So once I actually did my measurements and I measured at the height that everybody thought I was, and in some places measured even taller, that's when I knew that I was going to be a first round pick. And so the decision became a lot easier to leave my name in the draft rather than still having to answer all these questions. And then, going to different workouts and dominating the workouts, I just started shooting up the boards to where my agent at the time, we kind of knew that we were going to be selected in the top half of the draft in the lottery. And the day before the draft, most people go to New York. I didn't go to New York. I went back home to Garland, Texas. I didn't have any cameras or anything around like most people do. Um, it was just another day. Woke up, my best friend, still my best friend to this day, came picked me up. We went to our rival high school, South Garland High School. They had open gym there, and I was playing open gym before the draft. Probably not the best decision, looking back on it, and probably if my agent knew, he probably would have strongly advised against it. But I mean, that was just me, especially at that time, just really loving to play basketball and being back in my home city. So I was playing, and I never really looked at myself as better than anybody or above anybody. So I was just there playing like I had played numerous times. And then some kids came up to me and they were like, "Hey, everybody's saying that you put your name in the draft." And I was like, "Yeah, I did." And they're like, "Well, how come you're not here in New York? How come you're not in New York?" I was like, "Because I want to be here." And they were like, "Yeah, right, man, you're lying." And I was like, "Well, let's bet. I mean, let's see what happens tonight." And so we made like a friendly bet or whatever, but it
On
was a pretty cool moment.
Oh, that's really cool. The humble side of you was always there. Definitely. That was, and I'm going to credit your dad for that. So you were raised with really strong values that stuck through. So I have to ask this because now this is the spiritual side of me that when I saw the number on your jersey for the pick, you were the ninth pick, and then they put number 9 on your jersey. Do you get to pick the number? Because number 9 is considered a really lucky number in many cultures. It's got like spiritual growth, selflessness, humanitarianism, like all these qualities that are really important. Did you pick that number nine? Does it have meaning to you, or was it just random?
Yeah, I did pick it. It didn't really have much of a meaning, to be honest. I wanted to get number five, but obviously Baron Davis had number five, so that wasn't happening.
Got it.
So I think this was the next best like single digit number to get, and I just happened to be the ninth overall draft pick, so that's why I chose number nine.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, I always look at the numbers, and so five was your ASU number, right? That
Yeah, five.
you
Yeah, five was my issue number. Yeah.
and they retired that number. I saw that you had a ceremony, so that means no one else can ever play number five at ASU. Is that how it works?
Well, they have to ask permission, but yes.
Interesting. And then number six, what was number six?
Yeah, number six is that's the to me that's to me that's my favorite number. Number six is my number that I play with the national team with Team Nigeria. So that number right there, that's probably my all time favorite number because made a lot of history for the country. And it's very significant to me because a lot of my cousins that haven't been able to come over to Nigeria, they haven't been able to come over to the U.S. I get to represent them as well as my village in Nigeria, really the whole southeast of Nigeria. I get to represent, and as I said, made a lot of history. So I really love number six. Number six is a very sentimental number.
Well, that's really cool because it's associated with responsibility, service, and nurturing. And I saw that within that interview, I saw that you brought some of your skills from the NBA to your teammates in Nigeria to help nurture and take them to the next level with what you learned. Is that right? You've got this natural ability to help serve others, and that's why you were probably put as the captain of the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was talking about this with somebody else. I just always felt like I could always relate to everybody, and I think that's why I was respected on the national team. And I could talk to everybody, whether they were the NBA guys or guys that were playing overseas or guys that played in the local league in Nigeria. I just always, uh, I just always related with everybody. I always knew the temperature of the room. I knew what guys you could be more aggressive with. I knew what guys that just needed a hug and that type of thing. So I don't know where it comes from. It just was natural for me, and that's why playing with the national team is very near and dear to my heart. And really, some of the best times I had playing basketball was with Nigeria because we really turned that thing around. Um, and turned it into a nice force to be reckoned with. So very proud of that.
I love this. I love this. And so going to when you're with Nigeria, what did you teach your team that you learned about going against your opponent? So some of the actual strategies that you taught from your time in the NBA.
Well, I don't know if I really taught them because they're also professional players as well. I just think that as a collective, we implemented really being prepared for our opponent. Not just going out there and just playing, but really like scouting, really watching film, really breaking down film, doing those type of things to give ourselves the best chance to win. Because I remember when I first got on the national team, we were kind of just winging a lot of stuff. And that can only get you so far, especially when you start playing against really good teams, really good, talented European teams that have been playing together for a number of years. It takes more than just playing hard. There's also a mental aspect of the game. And I feel like collectively, my group, we came in and we instilled that. And thus, we were able to be pretty successful.
And I heard you say in that interview that I listened to, in order to get to the next level, of where you want to go. We need to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, what is X? What is Y? And what is Z? Like, do you think it's being prepared mentally, watching video, understanding? Like, what do you think is X, Y, and Z? If you were to give me specifics.
It's all of that.
Yeah.
In order for if you're talking specifically for Nigeria to get to the pinnacle, yeah, we got to do all of that, because the game of basketball is more than just physical. It's mental, and we have to tackle all of those phases in order to give ourselves the best chance to win. Because as far as raw talent, I feel like Nigeria is as talented as any um, country in the world physically. I mean, you have some of the most well put together athletes, but it takes more than that. So, once you combine all those things, the preparation, the mental, the physical, um, even as far as taking care of your body, all of that, once you combine all that together, then, people will see Nigeria unlocked.
Love it. That's a good recipe for success, definitely. So take us to Rio 2016 Olympics. What was that like for you?
Rio was pretty fun. That was my second Olympics.
Yeah.
So, it was a dream come true. I'm the captain. I'm able to represent my village, like I said, and represent 200 million people. Um, we go down to Rio, and we played pretty well. Unfortunately, we had some injuries, so we didn't have the finish that we all anticipated, but we still really competed. We played really well, and I just think that was another stepping stone in the process for Nigeria to get to where we eventually got to. So it was just another stepping stone, but it was a great experience.
So where are things now? Where are you playing with Venezuela? What happened since the Olympics and since that last interview 5 years ago? So I don't know because I couldn't find out. Where are things now?
Yeah, well, the last time that I played was I played in Venezuela. That was coming up on, well, a year ago. Yeah, a year ago. So that's the last time that I played. I still work out every day, still train every day, still possibly looking for another opportunity. But if not, try my hand at some other things. I got some other things in the works. So that's pretty much what's going on right now.
Got it. And where's your vision? Would you want to be joining another team? Is that where your vision is, or you're just completely wide open?
I am completely wide open. I mean, as a basketball player, I've been playing for so long. Would I like to play somewhere else? I mean, sure, absolutely. But also, I understand that once you start to get to the age that I'm getting to, that kind of scares people off. So um, I understand that aspect as well. So I'm open to it all. But the skills are still sharp, still in great shape. So that's what I'm doing.
Love it. Love it, Ike. And we're in the same state right now, right? The heat's blazing through the window, just like what's coming through mine, 110 degrees coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, well, the heat never bothered me. Like I
Okay.
said,
Yeah.
one, I'm African, I'm Nigerian, so I'm naturally built for the heat. I grew up in Texas. It's hot in Texas. I went to school out here in Arizona. I love the heat. So there's no complaints from me. I just don't like the cold. So
Yeah, we're identical that way. I like the cold is my kryptonite, that's for sure. Well,
same here.
yeah, this has been an honor to reconnect with you. Like I said, this is really important for me because this podcast that I've done the past 5 years, it's a compilation of people who've inspired me, whether with their research or just with mental mindset. And I had to have you on. So this is really important for me to have you a part of this. This body of knowledge that I'm trying to grab, it's really to help our next generation figure out how to be successful, how to be more productive, aiming science at it as much as I can, but age-old principles of mental mindset are all a part of this. So I just want to thank you so much for being on this podcast. When I look back over the years, the people I've had on have made an impact in some way to me. And I was beyond moved from your mindset of mental excellence, but also the desire to help others reach their greatest heights. So I definitely look forward to seeing where you end up. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being on this podcast today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Some final thoughts. At the end of this interview, I thanked Ike for giving me such incredible hope at a time in my life when I didn't have it all figured out. I remember having these huge visions for these important social and emotional learning skills that were not yet taught in our schools. And Ike's grasp of these skills propelled me forward. This was years before we had the research behind these SEL competencies that we now know skyrocket academic achievement, healthy relationships, mental wellness, and so much more. These SEL skills are integral in our classrooms today. I think it's important to be open at all times to learn from others, as you never know what it is that might help you in the future, like Ike helped me to stay focused on this work. I do highly encourage watching the interview that I mentioned, Ike Diogu, pioneering the golden age of Nigerian basketball, if you want to learn all the details of Ike's motivating story, diving into the mindset of a Division I college basketball player turned pro. I'm grateful to have had this chance to reconnect with Ike, and I do want to give a shout out to all the parents out there, like Ike's dad, who are raising their children to be mentally and physically strong. Also the coaches, like Coach Evans, who took Ike to the heights he needed to be successful at the pro level and taking his mental toughness to those greater heights. I believe we all have the ability to do just what Ike did. Maybe not with basketball, but I mean make quantum leaps with our results. And as Ike said himself, he never would have imagined making the jump that he made. But I did, and I bet his dad and his family did as well. And Coach Evans did. Ike was surrounded by people who believed in him, which is a testament for all of us to keep learning, growing, and reaching for the next level in whatever it is that we want in our lives, and encourage others to do the same. And I'll end this episode with a quote from Thomas Edison. If we all did the things we're capable of, we would literally astound ourselves. And I'll see you next week as we continue with our self-leadership series and Chapter 9 on self-regulation.